People say to me all the time, Tom, I could never do your job. It must be so stressful.
You've got to chill out, yeah?
And yes, driving in a big city like London, there is a lot to think about. But now, I actually find my job oddly enjoyable and relaxing. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you all my essential tips and tricks to make driving in big cities like London as stress-free as possible. My first tip is to slow down and, if possible, take a bit of a breather. There is a lot of information to take in London, and if you're focusing on trying to go too fast or keeping with the pace of traffic, you might be missing a lot of information because it all happens very quickly in London. For instance, this lane on the right is about to turn right, and if you're coming at it too fast, you might have the wrong lane decision, as I've just seen the person behind me just do. Going slower, and obviously most of London is 20 miles an hour now anyway, just enables you much more time to be able to take in all of this information, look ahead and anticipate exactly what's going on. And if it gets a little bit too stressful, don't be afraid to pull off into a side street if it's safe and possible to do so, and have a little breather. This was one of the things that really got me through the knowledge. London was fresh and brand new to me. And if you're here for 3 or 4 hours of fairly constant driving, it can be so stressful to be always switched on. And the reason why I'd pick a side street to pull over on is that yes, you might be able to find space on a main road, but you'll still have traffic whizzing past you, and you might be near a bus lane, you might be on a red route, so there could still be a chance of getting a ticket. I much prefer a little quiet side street like this, compose my thoughts before going again. And another one of the point of going slow, or rather fast sometimes, it just astounds me how this happens in London so much, that people will go super fast, they'll whiz up to a set of traffic lights, the lights turn red, and then they sit and gaze on their phones, and when the lights turn green, they're still there on their phones. And you think, well, what was the point in trying to go so fast, and then you're just gonna miss the lights and not be ready to anticipate them anyway. As you would need to pull into a side street, the next one is using your indicators. Like, it astounds me how many people don't indicate. And I think the problem is that sometimes people do and try and change lanes just by sort of veering across, not putting an indicator on. It doesn't give an indication, hence indicators, to us other road users that a lane change might be happening. Even me, when I get the wrong lane, just at the earliest opportunity, put the indicator on and just say, look, I need to change lanes. That's kind of what it's there for. This van in front, look, he's come around the corner there, and he's either still got the indicator on, or he might be turning right into this next street here. So I know, probably hold back a little bit, because if he's going to be turning right, I've got to anticipate that. He might pull off here, but hold back a bit, because I might need a little bit of room to go around him, in which case, no. But he actually counts with the indicator, do you see that? Don't feel like you're hindering anyone, or you can quickly change lanes without anyone noticing. It's much better to give the clear signal, and you'll be given the appropriate space to do just that. Our next point is to read the road and not the Sat Nav. In fact, I'd probably advocate that you want to rely less on the Sat Nav in London and try and not use it as you would in any other part of the country. There's a lot of nuances into which lane you need to be in. And I find that Sat Navs aren't always good at correctly picking the correct lane. You're often better reading the signage on the floors, looking up and ahead to know which direction you should be heading in. And secondly as well, it's the time element which I find is very stressful. Even just this morning, I was driving around the North Circular and I had about 20 minutes added onto my journey from what was expected when I left my house. There's nothing more stressful if you're already driving in a very stressful city, arguably, than having that time just creep up and up and up. I think a lot of people fixate on that number as like a target of when they want to be at their destination. You can have it on in the background, but really you need to be paying attention to what's going on out here. Otherwise you will get quite stressed out if you do find yourself in the wrong lane because you've been solely relying upon what the Sat Nav says. In fact, the other reason why I suggest to not use a Sat Nav in somewhere like central London is that they're often wrong. Hundreds of times I've seen on there where it wants to give me a route or a direction that I know is illegal because you might have once been able to do it, but you can no longer do it anymore. Or maybe something you've never been able to do. But once again, the Sat Nav is telling you to take that route. Do use it as an overall guidance as the way you're going to head, because not everyone knows their way around big cities. When you're actually in the city, take in the information that's all around you, rather than solely relying upon that, because it's not gospel. Lanes. I would argue the key to driving in any big city is getting your lanes right. But you might be thinking, if you've never been to that city before, how could you possibly get the lanes right? Well, it comes back to this idea of not using the Sat Nav and reading the road ahead. It can be particularly challenging in London because often a lot of the road markings are on the floor. And if there's a lot of traffic, as we see in today's scenario, those road markings can be obscured. You can use a bit of deductive reasoning to kind of work out what your correct lane might be. For instance, I'm on Holloway Road and I know that I want to be going straight to Highbury Corner. So look, I can see on that traffic light there, it's a no right turn for vehicles, cycles can. That then means if I'm going straight ahead to Highbury Corner, which I know is the direction I want to travel, there's not going to be a magical right turn lane just appear out of nowhere. So I'm going to be fine in this rightmost or offside lane. And the same happens with the left. If you're turning left, as in this example here, there's a left turn lane here, more than likely you want to be hanging left if you know you're going to be turning left at some point. Another good cue that you can take from looking at the live conditions in front of you is following what the majority of people are doing. The most common route would of course be, straight on, going with the flow of traffic. So if you can see a lane up ahead with not many people in the right hand side, but a lot of people, in the left hand side, well, that might indicate that people are kind of going to be going straight on and the people in the right hand lane are going to be turning right. And if you don't want to turn right, you've then got to awkwardly, observation, signal, maneuver your way out of that lane into the ongoing lane. Aha, so this is another one that comes up here. These two lanes on Old Street go forward, but the right hand lane also turns right. Might be an idea, just to be safe, to be in this left hand lane if I want to go forward into Hackney Road. So he's gone right, I think possibly to cut round people, but he'll probably cut back in again if people start turning right. Ready? So the Uber driver's doing it. Wait for the van, he'll do it as well. He's not got an indicator on, I have no idea what he's going to do. Is he going forward? Yep. As thought. The van behind me did the same. If I've never been to that junction before, I could look forward to that lights. I could see that there isn't a no right turn symbol on those lights, meaning traffic in the right hand lane might turn right. And if it does, it will cause that little mini blockage that we saw there. So preemptively, I want to get in the lane that's furthest away from that. I know I probably want to get in that left hand lane, look, because I can't see any arrows going on, but there's nothing on the traffic lights, meaning we can go left, right, forward or right more than likely. So I'm going to get over into that lane. There's nothing coming up the bus lane, and look, everyone else does as well. And surprise, surprise, someone's turning right there. Now the next point is preparation before going driving. But before I get onto that in a driving sense, I want to show you how I came prepared today. And that was, of course, with our sponsor, who is Y-Food. I'm rocking the roasted almond flavour as I'm getting that kind of winter, Christmassy kind of vibes. If you've never heard of Y-Food before, they're a complete ready-to-drink meal replacement shake. Just keep one in your bag. They're made from long life milk and it means I can drink one wherever I am, wherever I end up in London. A bit more of a subtle flavour, that one. There's 500 calories inside of one of these bottles, so it's going to leave you full until your next meal. But what's even greater is that there is a substantial amount of protein in here, 34 grams of protein. So one of the hardest things when you're out and about getting food is getting something that's got a good level of protein. So that's where I rely upon Y-Food. The other item I'd recommend adding to your basket when you make your order of Y-Food is some of their meal replacement bars. These are great for little afternoon pick-me-ups if you don't want to quite have a whole bottle of Y-Food. Things like salted caramel and chocolate, 14 grams of protein, 180 calories in a single bar. To ensure that you're prepared, whether that's on your next long drive, a trip away, or just to have at home, then you can get 10% off of your next order from Y-Food. You can use that on the ready-to-drink bottles, on the bars, or even both. Just use my code, which is taxi-YouTube, or the link in the description down below. Any size order that will do, and it just ensures that you're prepared wherever you might end up. Have a plan when you go driving in any big city. It's like the old saying, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. When I first started driving in London and doing my knowledge, what made it a lot less daunting was covering many of the variables, i.e., if I get hungry, where can I go? If I need to go to the toilet, where can I go? Where can I get petrol? Have I got to pay the congestion charge or the ULEZ? All of these things should be thought about before you leave home. Because once you get into town, and if any one of these things crop up, you've got the added stress of driving and then having to try and navigate to where you might want to go to fulfill any one of those aims. Now, over time, I've always got these in my head of where I want to go. So right now, if I need to go to the toilet, I know that probably my best option is going to be Shell on Upper Street. Shell petrol stations are probably one of the most reliable places to find a toilet in London. If I'm going to a part of London, let's say I'm meeting friends and I'm down in, I don't know, deepest, darkest Deptford, I'll load up Google Street View before I go and I'll check out what the parking signage says. You know, where can I park? What's the parking restrictions? How this used to look for me is that I would have a certain route in and out of London. If I needed to, I could stop at a petrol station before going into the main centre zone where I might not see a petrol station as often. Or maybe on the way out as well. So stopping at a petrol station, you know, just on the edge of London before you maybe hit the motorway and wherever you want to head after that. Even when I come out and drive the taxi on a daily basis, I'll open up my WhatsApp groups, understand what's going on in terms of road closures that might affect my usual route into London, especially on weekends, because there might be a big event on. London Marathon, Prudential Ride London, there might be some kind of demonstration going on. So I can't just turn up absent-mindedly. I've got to look ahead, not just for my own benefit, but for passenger benefit as well. And of course, as we learned from the sponsorship segment, Y-Food helps out massively as well, because if I do get a bit peckish, I'm not going to be hangry in some remote part of London. Here's another good one. Knowing the size of your vehicle. In London, invariably, you're going to get some quite thin and narrow streets, because some of the streets, especially in the city of London, go back to like ancient medieval times. So you've got little, real narrow passageways. There's often going to be times when you have to really know the width of your vehicle to get through a particular area. I'd encourage anyone who, if you know you're going to be driving in London, to go and test out the size of your vehicle. Maybe do some quite tight parallel parking, or maybe even testing width restrictions. So 7 foot is quite a common one, but you do get 6 foot by 6 quite frequently in London. You haven't got to go down Jackson's Lane, because I personally wouldn't even want to go down Jackson's Lane, even though that is a 6 foot by 6, but it's the wall behind it that makes that one particularly tricky. But the reason being is that when all hell breaks loose, when there's kind of traffic everywhere, when there's a certain junction you need to get into, it's not always going to be a nice plain open road that you see here. There might be a bin lorry, there might be someone broken down, and as a result you've got to move your vehicle round in a particular manner that might be a bit tighter than you'd be used to. But similarly it goes the other way as well. Not can I fit in that gap, but I can definitely not fit in that gap. If you categorically know the size of your vehicle and think, I can't fit through there, you just have to sit, wait for the traffic to disperse. But if there's a part of your mind that thinks, could I fit through there? Maybe I could. Then that's what can create some stress.
You can land a jumbo jet in there.
Wait, leave him alone.
So here we go. This is a good example of knowing the width of your vehicle. It's not a particularly narrow width restriction here, and it's not got the long poles on it. That kind of makes it worse. I can't reverse back very easily because there is a lorry behind me, so I'm not too sure what this person is really doing. But this is the problem. It's like, I don't care, right? But it's just more stressful for that person in front, presumably, you know, if you're having to line it up and think, oh, brand new car, is it going to fit or whatever. It's just about getting your practice in, getting your reps in, because that's fine. You know that width restriction. It tells you the size of it. So that's probably going to be the easiest thing to encounter. What's not so easy is when you're having to do width restrictions that are just because of the placement of one car against another car. Here's another one. Roughly treat road junctions like Old Street Roundabout like roundabouts. Most of the time they will work like roundabouts, i.e. the near side lane is most definitely going to be your first exit. Sometimes it might be your 12 o'clock exit, not in the case of this one, but you can see it splits off. You've got to look at the signage in advance, look at what the roads are saying. City, Holborn. So I know there's one exit there, there's one over there, and there's one that way. So there's 2 lanes here, 2, 3. Count your lanes, count your exit. So I know that from here, I can roll on into the city easy as pie. But that person is sat at a green light. Pleasant toot at the horn, does it quite nicely. But he's now shot off down City Road. So had he approached that light a bit slower, he might have been able to read the road much better, rather than thinking about going down City Road like so ridiculously quick. Knows where he's going because he instantly got that left there. Even for myself, if I'm feeling overwhelmed on a certain day, if you're a little bit tired, maybe dehydrated, these are all things that are going to affect your decision-making abilities. And that's all driving really is at the end of the day. You're just making lots and lots and lots of fine, minute decisions. So even here, just to pull over, just get a bit of a breather, because whilst I'm driving, it can be quite hard to concentrate on what I want to say. Pull over, have a little quick look at my notes before going again. Another big one is to leave junctions free. So there's a temporary set of lights up here, and it says when red light shows stop here, and it's got it on the junction there. It sometimes feels like if there's a lot of traffic behind you that you need to keep moving up, and you're being quite concerned about the traffic behind you. But at a compromise, you might block a junction that allows more traffic come from a different direction. So you think you're doing the right thing by moving up, keeping the traffic nice and tight. It then has a knock-on effect that you might block a junction, and then as a result, people can't get out of it, and it creates more traffic in another area. Think of driving in London or anywhere really like a flow. You just don't want that flow to stop. If I'm on like a congested street, I can see there's a lot of traffic trying to get out of a side street, then just let the odd car driver or two out. Just don't go into it too fast, don't be harsh on the braking, just let it flow. And if you try and restrict a flow, it just creates problems elsewhere. Now this is an interesting one, right? So it's green, the bus behind me is going to probably go a bit mad, but I'm not going to advance because that will put me in a very compromised position. You can see there's a few people there that already are blocking that crossing there. Now I can't guarantee that the further traffic as it goes round into Old Street is gonna move. It would be very inconsiderate of me to try and get through that green light just so I get through it, but then it will block subsequent traffic potentially. It's better for me to hold back, make sure I don't sit in this cycle junction, I'm just out of it by the looks of it, and then I'll give it another go the next time round when it's a bit more opportune to do so. Don't block junctions, and don't block pedestrian crossings as well. And related to that is impatient drivers. If someone wants to cut in front of you, or let's say use a right-hand lane to skip a load of traffic that's going ahead and then cut in front at the last minute, just let it happen. If you try and refuse that, then it just blocks up the flow of traffic. So he's going to be pulling left here, so I might hold back a bit just so it allows him to pull out a bit easier, because if I go for it and he's half pulled out, that creates traffic coming that way. And you're just always making these micro decisions about which traffic to prioritise, not prioritise. He's let him go, I've got a good bit of lead here, so I might as well go with that. There's no one behind us as well, so I know that as soon as we get through here, this van can then come through. Very kindly done, thank you very much. But inadvertently blocked the junction, but it's okay. This is what I mean about how difficult some junctions are in London. So you've got a pedestrian crossing here that's got lights, that's right by a give way, which then leads into like this one-way system here. It's absolutely bananas, isn't it? And then you want to be looking at this sign over here to ascertain what the correct lane might be. I know that this right-hand lane turns right into Holywell Lane, so a lot of traffic's turning right there. As I want to go forward, I want to stay in this lane because it's just going to minimise my opportunity or minimise the idea of having to pull out around a vehicle, and stress-free. The other thing to look out for is that not every vehicle is the same. So look, delivery van, lorry, UPS van. You always want to be looking at the vehicle and thinking, how are they going to be driving? Like if you see someone driving a little bit slowly and cautiously, they might want to be stopping or parking at some point. Right? Mopeds and things like that you can largely ignore. I mean, you want to be mindful that to allow them a bit of space to get around you. But once they get to set of traffic lights, they're gone, they're fine, right? But delivery vehicles, more than likely, they're going to want to pull over and make a delivery. A bus, at some point, is going to pull into a bus stop, and not every bus stop is separated from the main road. A taxi driver, like me, stop to drop a passenger off, or pick up a passenger. So if you're behind a taxi, that should always be in your mindset of that taxi might stop at some point. And this one, as we can see happening in front of me here, is box junctions. Learning box junctions is a way of mitigating against a lot of stress in central London. I don't know if that one's got a camera on it, if he's been caught or not. Who knows? But box junctions are simple. If your exit road is clear, you're allowed in the box junction. It's easy. You're amazed that a lot of people are so hesitant and cautious about just even putting their wheels in it. They don't want to stop in it. You can get in it, stop it, and often that's better because that allows you to see the road that you're then pulling into much better. So zip merges are usually pretty predictable. I say usually because I haven't attacked this one before, but we shall see. It depends how much traffic we get on the other end as well. Both these lanes I know to go forward, obviously using our traffic lights we learned earlier. None of them are going to be turning right. There's nothing marked out on the floor to say I should be turning left, although that's generally guidance set by the sort of local area. More than likely that van's going to speed off. It just depends what happens at the other end there as well. Again, another decision you don't really have to think about because you just literally count the cars and you just see how they kind of all file together. Great, we're going to go green now. As we do go through, this should become a little bit more predictable. So he's going to pull in, then it's going to be him. I'm going to go behind this white van, more than likely. Blue, then the green, then the blue, then the white, then me. Right? Watch. And the car behind me should do the same as well. Zip merges are so predictable. And I could see that whole order as it unfolded. You might get the odd person who proper tries and cuts in front. And it does depend on the layout of the road of the zip merge. If it happens, just let it happen. But more than often, it's very, very difficult to not go the natural pattern of a zip merge, i.e. the person who's trying to get in front has to really fight. And there we go, my definitive guide to driving London or a big city like a pro. If you've enjoyed this, you might want to watch my full 1 hour uninterrupted of driving in central London. You get some great views, but you also get to see how I implement some of the strategies we shared in this video. I'll leave that on screen for you now.